Welcome along to our first session here on Full Time. I want to send a shout out going out to our sponsors, Racecrack Motors down there on Grey Street. And of course we welcome back into the fold of Full Time. We've got our man Ra Walker. Morning, bro.
Yeah, good morning, boys. Good to be back on the only show that matters during the weekend, especially in terms of sports and trivia. And just to give our listeners the heads up, be prepared from Wednesday. Apparently we're supposed to be hitting 30-degree temperatures, so what an early start to summer.
I know. I mean, it's been a bit of a crazy week, actually. You know, our weather's been kind of all over the place, hasn't it, Ra?
Well, it's a lot cooler today, Keithy. I think we were down to about 5 degrees this morning, so, you know, we're starting to sort of head into that warmer time of the year. So slip, slop and slap, I think we're going to be in for a scorching summer.
Doing a bit of slip, slop and slapping, we've also got Mr. Riino Wilkinson with us up there in Pyro. Morning, bro.
Yeah, morning, bros. And kind of say what Ra says. A bit cool up here, overcast, cloudy for today. I'm looking forward to that Wednesday, 30 degrees. It'll be that time of the year where I start rocking out my mankini.
Mankini. Oh, please. Don't take a picture of it and send it to us on Facebook, please.
Before you do, bro.
Selfies, here comes the selfies, boys.
I tell you what, who else will be jumping in that mankini of yours would probably be the Thames Valley team, eh? They'd be pretty happy with the result.
Well, actually, one of the stalwart players, Lance Easton, did the photo. I think it was Sevens captain Kurt, who did the photo with no clothes on, on the shoulders of one of the players.
Right.
And then you had the netballer Wendy Frew down in South do one as well. Well, Lance Easton, veteran who, would you believe, from a winger went into prop to play prop this year, fastest prop going around in the country most probably. Ended up doing the same photo shoot to celebrate with the Heartland Trophy. And yeah, they are still celebrating, just organising the travel duties with the trophy. I understand it's going to be over in Ngāti at the AMP show today. But getting around all the sponsors, all the schools, and yeah, they're still celebrating. But today, basically, they're focused on the Sevens tournament up there in Whitianga, Invitational Sevens today. But, it's been a good week for the old Swamp Foxes, boys.
Yeah, great week, no doubt. Great week for them. They're certainly... be still in the thralls of celebration, I suppose, with that win, eh?
Yeah, historic win, and hey, we knocked over two big names, Whanganui and then at home as well, and then Timaru, who faced South Canterbury, we all know that. And what I enjoyed, though, was just seeing it on the Sky TV. It's not that often you see a Swamp Fox game on Sky TV, let alone live, and just great to hear the crowd, the supporters, and you walk around town, you bump into some of the old heads of the franchise and the club, and they're just over the moon. Because, we've seen a lot of lows with the club over the few decades, but to get that win is a massive high, mate. And, to go down as one of the richest clubs here in the country, they're pretty tight on the money as the old Swamp Foxes, but they're out there celebrating. So, great result, mate.
I saw the game, the highlights of the game on Thursday night, of course, on, I think it was Main Freight Rugby, is that what they call it now? Yep. I saw that anyway, and... Well, when I saw the game, I was quite in disbelief because I was thinking, what, they made a comeback? Because, I think the score was it 12-3 or something? But I know that they were the Swamp Foxes were down, and the South Canterbury, supporters were well up, and so they had to make some major comeback was on offer, and they were able to do it, and it was just awesome stuff there, Riino.
Yeah, it was in the second half, and I think the boys blew out to the lead. I think the final score ended up being 17-12 overall, so that showed that the defence pattern for the Swamp Foxes worked well and had a bit of self-belief in their second half because we're so familiar with them leading at half-time in their games, and then it kind of just falls away in that second half. That game they showed, it didn't fall away, obviously, and the fence held together, and they just had self-belief and kept going. You saw the bench, you saw the supporters jumping up and down, and it was a surprise, actually a surprise to old Bartlett, the coach, Matty Bartlett, and he knew it. He just knew because the season showed the last 40, it's just slipped away. They could have beaten South Canterbury earlier in the season as well. There's a couple of those games, and that kind of stuff comes to haunt you. Let's hope the boys can hold on second 40. That's
Yeah.
all to go. And they sure enough did. Had self-belief, and, well, the rest is history, as they say, and we get to keep the Meads Cup in Thames Valley territory for a season.
Yes, absolutely. Not just that, but it all kind of, I think it, well, I'm not sure if you would agree with me, Riino, but it all kind of, well, at least for me, it all kind of came together last year, even though, they didn't even quite make the playoffs. You could see that the team was there or thereabouts in a ways. Some of those losses that they took last year were just by 1 point or 1 or 2 points. Some of the games that they could have actually gone on to win, and they certainly would have made the playoffs. Well, they did make the playoffs, didn't they? I think they went. Oh no, I'm not quite sure if they did or not, but I remember the last game was against Poverty Bay. Hey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was in Te Aroha, and that was a must-win game against Poverty Bay, but they lost that, and Poverty Bay boys had a win at home, and that was the season done and dusted.
Yes.
Yourself and Ra were on the cards, actually, because I remember both you talking about the Swamp Foxes team, asking me about it and what they were showing, and you're right too, they were just losing just to some of the big names.
Yes.
And you pretty well nailed it on the card, guys. And you see it, maybe next year. I'm hoping that Roloff effect works on the Warriors. I know you've been talking that up for the last few years.
Absolutely.
So, you were right. You hit it right on the card. And the boys have got through with it. So, they're celebrating, and they'll savor their moments. And they've only just got the trophy back yesterday. Right. The players are trying to hide it away and keep it amongst themselves because, these players will go down in the history of the team.
Absolutely.
Of 2018 to win the Heartland Championship, the Meads Cup, and you'll never be able to take that away from them. So, it's a savouring moment for Thames Valley Rugby Union, and hey, bring on next year, I would guess 2019.
Now, I remember you were saying that you watched some of that game there, didn't you, Ra?
Oh, yeah, I did, Keithy. And, after the Valley Boys win, I think they need to rebrand their title and call themselves the Devil Dogs or the Giant Killers. I mean, the Swamp Foxes seems unworthy of a team that's had a great season. And I'll tell you, just looking at a few of their games from what I observed on Mainfreight Rugby, look, they'll have a good team next year if they play with that same consistency. They may even do it again. And good on the boys. Each province has, their highs and lows. So it's good to see the Valley Boys sort of, take that win. And it's good for rugby all around. I mean, as we've seen the last few seasons in that lower division of rugby, it's been mostly the Wanganuis or some of those South Island teams that have taken out the victories. But good to see the Valley Boys sort of have their turn this season. And look, I'll keep a close eye on them for 2019. It's going to be a fantastic year as well, I believe.
Well, interestingly enough, there have been some other very small unions that have also won the Meads Cup. One particular union pops up to mind, which is, of course, East Coast, probably the smallest union that we have in this country. So, that's some pretty good going, I reckon, there, ARA, that they can at least emulate East Coast from a few years back, eh?
Well, the Coast, as we know, Keithy, they love their rugby, and, they'll always sort of put up their best performance the way they can. But, you look no further than other teams like the West Coast, another very similar small union that plays some outstanding footy every season. So, you need those small clubs, even though a lot of them do struggle nowadays. But, you can't sort of dismiss them. That's what grassroots rugby is all about.
True.
Everybody starts, in that type of sort of level and work their way to the top. So, you need that type of rugby for good or bad. It's just what playing rugby in Aotearoa is all about. You start from grassroots and you build your way up from there.
Now, what do you reckon, Riino? Will they be able to keep most of that team together?
Yeah, from what I understand, because it's a very similar team to what they had last year, the team you guys are talking up, and exactly the same team. It does sound like they are going to keep the same team going through. There's not many there. Lance Easton might be the only one who may retire. He's played like 100-odd games for Valley. But, yeah, there wouldn't be too many changes, guys, and I don't think the management, let alone the top top of the Thames Valley rugby and will change it much. A winning formula, stick with it, and let the boys get through sevens. The only things that will stop them playing is injury concerns. You got to get through the club rugby first and see how we go. But yeah, you might as well keep a winning formula. The All Blacks do it, so the Crusaders do it. Might as well just do it, Carry on with it.
Yeah, definitely. The Crusaders, or at least their the Canterbury team, they weren't able to do it though. In the weekend gone though, were they, Riino? Just I guess wasn't their season, but in a way, you got to say big congratulations going out to Auckland, eh?
Yeah, Auckland deserve it. They're the hot team of the mighty team rugby, and a good win for the boys. What I enjoy about that too is a free game for everyone to go and watch last Saturday at Eden Park, and you could have stayed there and watched the All Black game on the big screen. But yeah, Canterbury came to the game. We know what they're like when it comes to the finals. Right up there to the draw, what full-time I think it was, went to extra time, and the Auckland team are deserved winners. I hope that roll-on effect actually moves on through to the Blues for Super Rugby. I see their team got announced, I think it was on Wednesday afternoon, the Blues franchise. So, for those fans who've been loyal to the club, I hope things go well for them in Super Rugby. I just wonder whether or not Alama Urumia might assist there, because he seems to be that turning point for the Auckland rugby team during the season. I know Tana Umanga and Leo McDonald fronting with the Blues next year, but let's hope Alama can help out there as well. He's been there before with success, and yeah, let's hope things can turn around. Even though, I'm a Canterbury supporter in Crusaders, but good to see Auckland rugby. For me, that's the better result. Didn't want Canterbury really to win, because otherwise, foregone conclusion, you'd sick of them winning. So I think a good result overall.
Now, were you ever a bit of a Auckland fan? I'm sure you were, weren't you, Ra?
Oh yeah, in fact, I've always sort of tended to support Auckland, when they still win back in the good old heydays. But, the last few seasons have just been so bad that, even I'm one of the first ones to jump on that negative bandwagon. But look, I've got to be honest, I've never really been a Canterbury fan, but in all fairness to them, in that final, there were a lot of young players. As we know, the ABs have taken most of the first string Canterbury players.
Yeah.
They make up just about the bulk of the All Black team. So in all fairness to the Red and Blacks, what I saw was a young team, which they're probably blooding for future years to come, and that team handled themselves well. Just not good enough against Auckland. Another sort of semi-young team. But, I was glad at the end of the day, and for NZ Rugby that, Auckland did win it. It was fantastic for their fans, and let's hope that they haven't found their mojo, because, as I said, back in the old heydays of Auckland, man, they can be an unstoppable juggernaut, and they can be just as good as Canterbury if they get that go forward and roll on. But, 2019, it's a new season. So anything can happen, but no, good on Auckland. Good for big city rugby, and to watch the space to see that they can continue it next year.
Well, Auckland, back in their heydays, I would suggest. Well, I'd be saying that you were talking about back in the mid to late 80s, when they were just unbelievably dominant. Is that right there, Ra?
Oh yeah, and we saw that because most of them made up the bulk of the All Black team as well, just as Canterbury are doing nowadays. But I think they're starting to find their feet. Who would have thought under their new coach? And I think you made mention, can they translate that into Super Rugby form for the Blues? Because they haven't been too great over the last few years. So I don't know, there could be fortunes in the wind, and if this provincial Auckland team can sort of, pass that positive mojo and style of rugby over to the Blues team, could be, a Blues season next year.
Yeah, true. Well, it could possibly be. I'll be honest, I was never a Blues fan. I've never been a Auckland fan at all, actually. Not to say that I'm a Canterbury fan either, but it's just interesting that Auckland, could indeed be making a bit of a comeback, and could be a bit of a worry, especially for the Crusaders there, Riino?
Nah, won't be worried, mate. Won't be worried
Fair
at all.
enough. Fair enough.
It's a different level of rugby.
Yeah, it is. Very much
Totally
so.
different level of rugby, and stepping week in, week out at that type of level of competition, it's going to take a massive ask from the Blues to get it together. Yeah, they've been rubbish, but like Ra said,